Yes, good morning. Of course, back in my running gear, it's time for another fitness fragrance review. What one am I doing today? Well, I haven't done one of these for a little while, and obviously it's one of my favourite fragrance houses. This is from Lush. This is Sakura. So Sakura, I've always loved fragrances that seem to be called Sakura. Aqua de Parma do an amazing one. Essentially, if you don't know what Sakura is, it's like a cherry blossom, essentially. Very nice, very pleasant. Essentially, floral. It's a floral fragrance. And yeah, this one is very different, though, from that Aqua de Parma one. So I wanted to give it a review today during my workout. So if you haven't seen this before, essentially I do a morning workout. I go for a run, walk to the gym, do a gym workout, walk all the way back, all while reviewing this fragrance. We rank it on 5 categories. So price slash value for money, its versatility, its projection, so how much you can smell it, compliment factor, and then its longevity. How long does it actually last? And we do a couple of tests. We'll do a room spray test and a shower test. Yeah, all while wearing this fragrance today. So yeah, this is the second time I've owned this fragrance. It's yeah, it is essentially a very much a floral one. It's certainly more of a feminine type fragrance, which we'll talk about a little bit on, yeah, in a bit more detail essentially today. But obviously what you want to know is what actually is it. It's not just cherry blossom, there's more notes in this. So we're going to quickly go through the note breakdown. I'm going to tell you what I can detect just from the off. Got the note breakdown on my phone here in front of me. So Lush Sakura don't give you a lot of notes on Lush's website. However, I've asked AI to help me out a little bit here, and I'm hoping this is essentially the full note breakdown. But yeah, one thing I do need to mention with Lush, all mainly natural products. If they're not natural, they do say they're safe synthetics. They really try and keep it pretty genuine, pretty sustainable. They're all about sustainability. Anyway, top notes. So the top note is lemon, adds a fresh sparkling brightness, makes it feel clean and uplifting. You definitely do get this kind of zesty opening, that's for sure. And yeah, there is this sparkling brightness, which I assume is coming from that lemon. Mimosa gives a soft honeyed floral touch with a hint of powderiness. Again, it's very hard to detect individual things, but there is a definite powdery sort of smell to this. Whether that's the mimosa, I don't know, but you definitely get that sort of sparkling powder. Yeah, it's quite a sharp lemon. It's quite a sharp lemon, I'd say. It's not just like a sweet candied lemon. But then we go into the hearts of cherry blossom, sakura, delicate, airy floral notes, soft, feminine, and gently sweet. This is where it does become quite feminine, particularly in the heart, because you also have jasmine, which adds depth and creaminess, gives it a romantic floral warmth. It's very much a floral fragrance. If this was a colour, it feels like you're walking through a woods that's full of like pink blossom trees. Essentially, it's very much uplifting. Yeah, very bright fragrance, much more of a summer type fragrance essentially. And then the base notes, the bit linger, the bit that should last the longest. Osmanthus, we talked about that one the other day, brings a fruity apricot light sweetness. Yeah, this is fruity. This is as much fruity as it is floral in my opinion, in terms of on those citruses anyway. And then sandalwood, smooth, creamy woodiness that makes it last longer and feel cozy. Again, it makes you feel like you're outside walking through, you know, when it's spring and everything's blossoming. That's what this reminds me of. Very much a floral, fruity fragrance with that little bit of woods that brings that sort of naturalistic type vibe and actually adds a slight element of masculinity to this. So I've said it's mainly more of a feminine fragrance, but I've had it a couple of times and I certainly don't feel uncomfortable wearing it. So as long as you like floral type fragrances, I think this does really well. And the overall scent vibe, it says here, soft floral, feminine, fresh, a bit creamy, like walking under a cherry blossom trees after a spring shower. That's basically what I meant. They just said it better than me, didn't they? So yeah, that is Lush Sakura. Very much a scent that, as I said, people don't really mention. Again, I don't know any hype about it, but it's available all year on their website. And yeah, can't really wait to wear it today. It's a good one, I have to say. Obviously, I don't buy bad fragrances, but it'd be really interesting to see how it scores today out of 50. Going to apply a couple more sprays now. And yeah, thankfully it's not raining in a minute. So what we're going to do, we're going to head out from a run. We're going to do the first 2 categories, so price slash value for money and versatility, and we'll give it a score. So yeah, let's get out there. Well, it's another breezy one today, so I do apologise. I hope you'll be able to hear me. So price slash value for money. So I'm going to say this before we talk about the scent. Obviously, you've just seen a price there. It's £32 on Lush's website for Lush Sakura. However, I would mention I have bought them myself on eBay. You can buy these body sprays on eBay, but I didn't put the price on there just for one main reason. As you can tell from the bottles, you can't actually see through them. They're completely black plastic, and it makes it very hard when someone says on there, 80% for sprayed once or twice, to really know how much is actually in there. So I just say take it with an air of caution. you know, if you are buying from Lush, just make sure you check the seller feedback. I even like to look to see if they sold Lush body sprays before, and then I'll make a judgment on whether I buy it, but you can always go ahead on there. So anyway, let's go for the Lush price. Do I think sort of £32 is good value for money for this fragrance based on the scent? If I was blindfolded, how much would I say it's worth? Probably about that. I'd probably say it is about that. And I'm going to mention this for a few reasons. Now, I think the blend of this is great. I don't think there's anything that feels like it's not blended well or anything along those lines. You know, and in that sense, it's really good. It smells really natural. You know, all the Lush fragrances, to be honest with you, are very natural. You can just look at the ingredients on the back. Natural oils. However, it doesn't have this really expensive, refined feel to it. You know, like an Acqua di Parma Sakura or a higher end, you know, top niche brand floral fragrance. It feels a little bit rough around the edges. Not cheap, just rough around the edges, where it's not got that element of class about it. And maybe, you know, it just feels like an uplifting sort of summery type fragrance, particularly like orange citrus dominant with that sort of spiciness coming through. But I think it just needed something else just to make it more refined, just to smooth it out a little bit around the edges, because it almost feels like it needs a bit of a musk or a lavender just to give a bit of cleanness. It's quite sharp and it just feels a little bit rough around the edges, where it doesn't have that high-end type floral fragrance smell, which you can get, you know, in a lot of floral fragrances. They can be really expensive. This one just doesn't quite have that. It feels around that £30 range. That being said, the quality of the notes in this, you know, absolutely fine. There's no issues. It doesn't smell like it's chemically, doesn't feel like it's going to burn your skin when you apply or anything like that. And you can detect most of those notes that we were saying earlier. You know, I think that sandalwood does bring a bit of maturity to it, so it's not, you know, it's got an element of class and sophistication there. But yeah, just it, you know, it is, to be honest, a very casual, fruity, floral type fragrance. But, you know, good citrus opening, good sort of spiciness, whether that's from the, you know, the osmanthus or, you know, the Sakura itself. It's very pleasant. I think that's the word you'll get from this. Very pleasant, very safe, very easy to pull off. So I think in terms of the score for this, then, price has value for money. I don't feel like you'd be ripped off for that. But if you're looking for like an absolute bargain, a floral fragrance that, you know, is the best bang for your buck, I'm not sure if this would be it, but it's very good. Another top one from Lush, in my opinion, for the price. And they always put their body sprays around this price, so can't really complain about that. It's pretty consistent. 200ml bottle, 7.5 out of 10. Right, let's get on to versatility. Versatility. So how much can you dress this one up, dress this one down? Different ages, different occasions, different seasons, all those things. Well, I'll go back to what I said earlier on. I think this is definitely more of a feminine fragrance. When you've got jasmine, mimosa, osmanthus, tend to be more in the feminine type fragrances. However, as I said, you've got things like sandalwood, lemon, a bit of orange in there. You know, there are plenty of notes in this that make it absolutely fine for a man to wear. That being said, I think it's going to be definitely more for a younger man who's, you know, mid-20s and up. And I'd probably say the same for women. I think, look, it's a fruity floral. It's definitely a fruity floral, but it's certainly more floral. And I think when we look at sort of younger fragrances, for those that are sort of, you know, late teens, they tend to be more on the fruity side and the more playful, juvenile side. You know, and I've said this isn't a very, you know, serious fragrance, but it does have that slight maturity about it, which you kind of expect from Lush. It's not candied sweetness. It's a bit zesty. And as I said, the floral really kicks through with that cherry blossom being a sort of main note. But can you dress this one up? Not for me. And it's not meant to be. As I said, if you look at the vibe of it, it said it's meant to be airy and just easy to wear. And I think that's the thing. You're almost approachable with it. It's very approachable. And I think that's what makes it a great signature scent. You know, there's enough complexity about it where the notes are quite safe. And there's quite a bit going on. They're well blended. You could wear this most of the year. You know, it's not overly offensive. And again, I think it's probably going to be best in those sort of, you know, mainly transition seasons really, where, you know, the spring, particularly spring, I think it's a real spring warming up type weather season. But again, fall like this time of year when it's warm in November, absolutely fine. So yeah, I'm going to wear it to the gym today, obviously during the thing. It's not the perfect gym scent, but again, it's never going to be too bad in any situation, you know, even job interviews, anything like that. But yeah, not particularly a night out fragrance, just an everyday, easy to wear type scent. And if you're quite happy to wear that more feminine thing with that jasmine and stuff, it's fine. It's got a little bit of creamy sweetness in it, which is something I do enjoy anyway. So it's not bad for versatility. It just wouldn't be my number one choice for anything. It's a little bit forgettable in that sense, but it's a dumb reach. It's a bit of a dumb reach for this one with an element of maturity. For that reason, let's go 7.5 again. I think it is kind of that. It's just average to above average. And look, Lush does some amazing gourmand fragrances, and I quite like the fact this one moves a little bit away from that. So yeah, not bad at all. 7.5 is a decent score. Right, time to head back above it sort of caramel green tea when we get there, and we'll talk about projection. We are back. 15 miles nearly run this morning. I'm feeling good at the moment, but it's now time to talk about projection. So what I'm going to do, go downstairs in a minute, have a cup of tea. Before that though, I'm going to do 5 sprays of this Sakura. Normally I'd do 10 because the atomizer spray is so big. Do 5 sprays. What I'm going to do then is come up in 10 minutes and just see how much the fragrance has filled the room, and then I can give an overall score on projection. But let's head downstairs. Did I notice the spray during my run? And yeah, I'm going to give you a bit of a spoiler. I did quite a lot. That's so good. Right, projection during my run. So how did it project? As I just said, really well. Really, really well. So I did a review on Bentley Ferment Intense the other day. I said it's about an hour and 15 minutes sort of run, and this is about the same. And for about an hour and a half, I could smell it again all that time. And it was very much that sort of mode of, oh, I can smell Sakura, and then it had gone. And it was just wafts. It wasn't overpowering at any point. Now, it seems quite surprising, a fragrance like this that has quite light, airy notes. Between like jasmine, it's not a really heavy note. And the citrus that's in this fragrance, you'd think this wouldn't last particularly long. And look, floral fragrances can last pretty well. Look, rose as a note is super, super strong. And I've had mimosa fragrances. Mimosa's obviously in this, and that one performs really well. Deep Mimosa by Marks and Spencer's. But I don't think it's actually the notes specifically that have made this project really well during my run. I just think it's the quality. That Lush makes a big thing about how they use really natural ingredients and really, high sustainable ingredients. And I think the quality is the reason this lasts longer, rather than the actual notes themselves in it. There's, oils that I'll look at when we go upstairs, I'll show you the sort of back of it and I'll tell you what's in it. It's like orange peel absolute or whatever. And it's not just like these really synthetic molecules. So I think the main reason this fragrance does well is actually the quality rather than the actual composition of the notes. And that makes it brilliant for me. It really does. I can still smell it now, actually, on my coat now. Stop. Even though this tea is strong, it's still kicking through. And that's one thing I noticed with Sakura during my runs day. Very windy, quite chilly out there, but it lasted really well and it was very pleasant. It was airy enough to make it suitable for a run as well. So yeah, very happy with that. I'm expecting quite a good score on the room spray test. So what I'm going to do, quickly finish this cup of tea and then we'll go find out. Time to head upstairs and see if I can smell the fragrance. Oh, my legs are stiff again. Done 40 miles in the last 3 days. That's a lot, isn't it? I can't smell it at the top of the stairs. Right, I can smell it very faintly now, so I come round the corner into my room. And now I'm getting the fragrance. That's pretty strong. I have to say, that is pretty strong. Not super, super strong, not overwhelming. But of course, I only sprayed it 5 times. Sometimes I spray 10, but it is a big atomizer. And that's fine. To me, that's just about right. Now, if someone came in the room, a colleague, and you had the door shut and stuff, they would notice this fragrance. It would linger as well. It's definitely got that lingering quality. And again, I just want to quickly show you the bottle because I did mention about the notes. So it's not very clear on this, but it has Mimosa Absolute, Orange Flower Absolute, Jasmine Absolute, just written on the back here. All the ingredients in green that are here, essentially are natural ingredients. And you just can tell it's just really, really high quality. And I'm sure that is what's leading to this performance being really good. So yeah, very happy with that score, or very happy with that praise. It's now time to give a score. I'm going to go 8.5 out of 10. It's not as heavy as some fragrances I've had. I think it's perfect though. It's really light, really airy, very approachable, and I think it's absolutely fine for an office environment. So yeah, what I'm going to do, get myself ready then to go to the gym, and yeah, during my walk down, we'll talk about compliment factor. Have I had any compliments on this? I've actually got quite a lot of stories to tell for this one. 5 sprays on each arm. It's just gone 9:15. It'll be about 3 hours until I smell my arm again, and we'll see how long it lasts for longevity. So 5 on that. Look how wet it makes your arm. I don't know if you can see that. It's literally dripping. It is literally dripping. Amazing body sprays. This is why they perform so well. They bring out so much juice. Compliment factor. What's my experience with compliments to this? Quite a lot. So when I first bought this, I didn't really expect too much with it. But I remember when I first had it, it was salty, which is another Lush body spray. I remember my mum going, "Oh, that's really nice. I really like that one." And it was obviously the Sakura one over the salty. And yeah, I didn't really think much of it. I remember wearing it to the gym that night and thinking, yeah, it's okay. A bit boring, a bit generic. I quite like a lot of the Gourmand Lush ones. This one's just a bit more safe. However, when I was working in the school, I got so many compliments with it. So one of the office staff, her name was Claire, I remember I'd basically given a letter in. I was doing a school letter. Then I had to go get my bag before I clocked out for the end of the day. And I came back, obviously the clocking out machine was by the reception, and she said, "I knew you'd been here, I could smell you." And she was always very blunt with it, she said, "Oh, I love that one. I remember you having that one before, you know," and we had a bit of a chat about it. She said, "It's really nice." And because she sold Avon products, I think she's one of the reps, yeah, she mentioned it quite a lot. So yeah, that was a really, yeah, it was a constant compliment. That was like 6-7 hours after. So obviously when you get a compliment on things, you start to like things a little bit more. Now I remember wearing it. I went out in the summer to have a meal with a colleague, and she picked me up, and I remember again it was really strong. I sprayed quite a lot of it because it was a hot day and just had a cold shower actually at the time, so I wanted something just refreshing and yeah, just casual, airy. And then a couple of weeks later, I think I put this fragrance on again. I got another compliment on it, and she said, "Oh, you know," she said, "I remember, you know, we went out a few weeks ago, the car smelt of you the next day." Again, it fills a room. For some reason, this fragrance does just stick. I go back to it, I just think it's the quality of it. And to be honest, if I just bought this fragrance when I did and was trying to review this now and said, "Do I think it's a compliment?" I'd probably say yes, because you can wear it in many situations. What I would say is because it's very much a casual scent, it works okay in any situation. So you're going to have a greater pool of people that could smell this, because you could wear it at the gym, you could wear it, you know, in an office, all those things. Whereas some things are just limited to certain occasions. So because, you know, it is a versatile scent in that sense, you'll have a greater pool of people to give you good comments. But I would give it a high score with that. And my brother's recently bought it, and he never really particularly mentioned it, but I do remember he wore it the other day walking. And I said to him, "Oh, you've got Sakura on, haven't you?" And I wasn't really saying it in a compliment sense. It's just obviously I noticed it and recognised the smell. And it was outside, and it was just very noticeable. And that's the thing, it just will get noticed. And because it's very pleasant, very approachable, very airy, sort of clean, safe, people are going to say nice things. And let's be honest, compliment getting fragrances tend to be those versatile, clean, not too daring scents that you'll get a really top compliment with a nice, sweet gourmand fragrance, but they don't have as many situations where you can wear them. There's nothing wrong with just smelling clean. I think this is a real underrated gem for compliments. So with all those things considered, and I'm kind of going more on my own experience than anything here, I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10 for compliments. This has got me some of the best compliments, and I always am quite surprised by that. But when I think about it, and when I've just considered all those factors, maybe I shouldn't be really. Underrated. I really think it's underrated. And that's maybe why Lush keep it on their product list. I notice it's dripping so much. Throughout the whole year, rather than make it limited edition. Now, of course, normally I say I'll bump it up to a 10 if I'm at the gym. Today I'll bump it up to an 11 if I get any compliments there. I wouldn't be surprised. done. No compliments, but fragrance is still there, but it's not as strong as I thought it would be. Some of the fragrances I've had recently are a bit heavier, but again, maybe this is going back to the fact it is more of a fresher fragrance, but I reckon it's going to be one of them actually. When I come out of the shower, it's actually going to just pick back up again, I really do. But really pleasant fragrance for the gym, and yeah, it doesn't feel out of place here. It doesn't, even though it's a floral fragrance, I think floral's suitable for the gym in general. That zestiness coming from that orange flower of the mimosa and essentially the lemon, I think it's just balanced it nicely. Yeah, it's a really versatile fragrance. It's a better gym fragrance than I maybe gave it credit for, but yeah, keep that a secret because we don't want everyone else wearing it instead of Dior Sauvage now, do we? Right, time for a shower and then we'll give a score on longevity. It's just turned midday. Time to smell my arms. See if I can smell the fragrance. I did have a little smell of it actually just the second I came out of the shower. Could barely smell it, so I'm a little bit surprised. Let's see if it does better than I thought. Yeah, so it definitely has come back a little bit, but that being said, it is not very strong at all. It's certainly not as much as I expected it to be. I'd probably say about 50-60%. And it has changed a little bit on my arms. That feels like a lot of that sort of floral components come off actually. It's kind of just the mimosa I'm getting, that sort of orange flower smell. It's kind of just an orange citrus, but it's certainly not super strong. I'd probably want to reapply it now. So yeah, a little bit disappointed. So I thought it was going to come back out a little bit more, but as I said before I went in the shower, it definitely wore off more than I expected, considering the projection's been so good, and I've got experience with confidence with this after 6 or 7 hours of wearing it. I think it's one that maybe might be better if you put it on your clothes as well. It doesn't seem to stain anything from when I've worn it, but yeah, it's certainly not lasted as long as I expected it to. It's definitely worn off a little bit. So what do I give it as a score? It's about 50%, and I said 50% is strong. So I think with that in mind, I'll probably give it a 6. I think it's done a little worse than I thought it would do, but it's not terrible, it's not awful. It's probably what you expect with the notes that are actually in the fragrance. It's kind of reverted back to type. I've been so surprised at how strong it is considering the notes that are in it. And yeah, it's contradicted a lot of what I've said today. So what I'm going to do then, head back, have something to eat, and then we'll count up all the scores and I'll give my overall thoughts. We are back. So how many steps have I done today? It's just gone 1:15. I have done 39,394 steps. That's a lot, isn't it? It was that long run this morning, and it was all today while wearing Lush Sakura. So what was the total score? What did it get overall? Well, it got a decent score. It got 39.5 out of 50, so just under 40. And really, it only fell down on that last category, to be honest, the longevity. Yeah, it's just not there as much as I thought, which is really surprising just based on everything else I've said today. But look, this is a great scent. And something I haven't actually mentioned today with this doesn't particularly smell like anything else. Look, it's a safe, casual, airy fragrance, as we've been saying all along. But I can't think of anything that actually smells specifically like this. It's just, you can get many in the same genre and the same vibe, but that doesn't mean this is bad at all. As I said, this has got me a lot of compliments over the years, and it's one of those underrated compliment getters. I feel very happy to wear it. I'm going to put a little bit more on now. That it's more feminine, 100% it's more feminine, but it's uplifting, it's very approachable, and yeah, it's perfect for, again, an office environment. Most occasions, the reality is it can do all things. It can work in any occasion you really want it to. Yeah, it's not going to be number one in the cold winter times. It's not going to be number one for a lot of men because it definitely has that more feminine with the jasmine, the mimosa, tend to be more in feminine fragrances, but it has got a maturity about it. Obviously, being a floral fragrance, a little bit more mature, and it's got sandalwood in it as well. So it definitely has that feeling of being a little bit more grown up. And look, I've had this now twice. Very happy to have it again, and I'll be getting it more times than that, that's for sure. So look, it's a great fragrance. Nobody talks about it, and that's what's really good. I think what I really like with Lush fragrances, just in general, is when I've put them on and people have asked, what is that? And I've said, oh, it's a Lush body spray. A lot of people don't know them. I know one person who actually knew Sticky Dates, but in general, the most people, they're quite surprised when you say, oh, it's a fragrance from Lush. It's actually a body spray from Lush. And look, for £30, I think you kind of get in what you pay for. You're getting a high quality natural scent. yeah, it's a little bit rough around the edges. It doesn't have that, you know, elegance and class about it, but it's not meant to be. It's light, it's airy, it's just, yeah, it's just exactly what you want it to be. Clean, and it will do all the jobs. If you want it to be a signature scent, it can do that as well. And I think that score reflects, you know, actually how highly I think of it. Really, I'm just a little bit gutted it just got under 40. But yeah, hope you've enjoyed this one today. The sun's come out now, so it does feel like the perfect time to put this on. Gonna put a little bit more on now as well. I don't care how strong I smell. Oh, it smells good. And yeah, I definitely recommend it. So thank you very much for watching, and yeah, more to come.